some people really like this, and some people are really annoyed by a long pattern. Hi, and welcome to the Wise Owl Knits podcast. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. I'm wearing my Lighthouse sweater, and I got a comment on my website that I didn't have a good picture of the neckline. So I tried to get my hair out of the way today so that I could show you that it's a crew neck with a little bit longer ribbing, and the ribbing is 1x1 ribbing with a twist in it, so it's a little crisper than normal 1x1 ribbing. So this is the neckline to the Lighthouse. There is brioche on the raglans, and just a touch of brioche, so if you haven't tried it before, it's a good way to try it. This is kind of a looser fitting sweater, not oversized, but just more sweatshirt-like and comfortable. So if that's what you're looking for this winter, head on over to my website and you can download it now. It is on sale just for a day or two more. So go over and grab that, and I'd love to see your results once you start knitting, so please share those with me. Last week, I talked about running out of yarn while I was on vacation. Not a good thing, and I don't think I'll let that happen again. But I did get home, and I was able to finish my Rustic Eyelet poncho. Let me show that to you here. So this is a pretty simple pattern, and it used to be for sale on my website, and I took it off just because it was one of my earlier patterns, and I need to go through and make sure that everything is perfect on that before I put it back on, but I will do that. I knit this out of Knitting McPurley Munich mohair and alpaca with a twist Socrates. So this is the Socrates, and this is the Munich mohair. So they go together well. They're not quite the same color, and they're also not quite the same color as the dress that I'm going to wear it with, but they all go really well. And the dress I'm wearing to a wedding, which is not this weekend, but the following weekend. And the dress is just a simple cotton knit dress, and it's sleeveless. And the wedding is the end of October, so, it could be nice and toasty, but it may not be. So I think the poncho will be just the thing to carry me over in this in-between fall season. I also finished another project, and it is another new pattern, and I don't necessarily have it named yet, but this is a crescent shaped shawl with kind of a ruffly bottom. So it's really wide, not super tall up and down, and it is a combination of this section here is a textured section that is a knit one below, and then it staggers every other stitch. And then it's got this eyelet section, which is just a yarn over knit two together. So there are just alternating sections of those two stitch patterns. And then I did a feather and fan on the bottom. So I've got that almost completely written, but I am starting from the beginning and going through line by line as I'm knitting a second shawl, just so I make sure that I get it all right. It's not hard, but there is a lot of switching back and forth between the different stitch patterns and increasing stitches at the same time. So I just want to make sure that I have it all right. So this is my second shawl, and I've got the textured section here and then the first eyelet section and just started the third textured section. So, you know, the rows go fast at the beginning when they're short, but they get longer and longer. So that may take me a while, but I'm working on that. The second one, the first one I forgot to tell you, is a Wenneth yarn and fiber, and the colorway is called I'm Doing a Resistance. It's beautiful tonal blues, and I just really love the color. Again, a Wenneth yarn and fibers, and the colorway is called I'm Doing a Resistance, and it is one of her fingering bases, so I'll put that below what the base is because she's got a lot of bases and I don't remember off the top of my head. The second shawl is knit out of Tuscan Knits, and the base is called Fuzz, and the colorway is Store. So it's mostly green, but again, very tonal, has some blue leaning spots in it. So that is the second poncho. And as I said, I'm going through like line by line and reading as I'm doing and making sure that I have everything just right. This is a pattern that when I knit it, I did a section and then went on to the next section and just kept track of how many stitches that I had in each one, and they would alternate every other row, whether you start with a knit one or a knit below on the textured section, and then the eyelet section is also staggered. So I just did it instinctively, and it's not that hard to do it that way, but the pattern will be written out line by line for those of you who want it that way. And then it will also probably have a simpler version because some people really like this and some people are really annoyed by a long pattern that writes every single thing out. So leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I can see it both ways. I think if everything is written out and you're somebody that doesn't need all of that, you can kind of just gloss over it and do it more instinctively and just use this as a guideline. But some people don't like to do that or can't see the picture in their head to do that, and it's very helpful for them to have everything written out. So, like I said, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your comments on that because I can see it both ways. I'm more of I like to fly by the seat of my pants. And when I did this, I was thinking, I just need a project where I can just knit something and I don't have to think a lot. And then as I was doing it, I thought, you know, I do like how this is going. I think I'll turn it into a pattern, but I didn't want to turn it into a pattern that people had tons of questions on. So thus I thought I'm going to write it out all line by line, and people can kind of do it either way. So need a name for that shawl. I'll have to keep thinking about that, but if you've got any good ideas, leave those below too. I'm always looking for good naming ideas because that sometimes is difficult. We've still got the cowboy knit along going on. Let me show you that. This is my latest cowboy, and finished this while I was on vacation. I think the last video I said I was finishing the bottom, but I actually had that all done. I was really finishing the sleeves. So the knit along goes until the end of October, which leaves you 2 weeks. So if you're in the middle of the cowboy sweater, keep going. You have a couple more weeks. And if you hadn't started it yet, but would like to join the knit along, and you're a dedicated knitter with some extra time on your hands, you could still get it done by Halloween. So all of the info is below on that, and it's also on my website on the page about the cowboy sweater. So you can just reach that very easily from the homepage, which is wiseowlknits.com. While I was on my trip, I got this book, Knitting the National Parks at Black Canyon of Gunnison, and this has hats for every national park that there is. So I am starting with the Black Canyon of Gunnison hat, this chart here. And you know, I've done a lot of color work knitting, but it's always kind of in some kind of a symmetrical pattern. This one is not. So there'll be a little bit of, I'll just have to watch the chart a little more closely. So I've gotten started on this, and I'm just getting into the first round of color work, and I'm changing from a smaller needle for the ribbing to a size 6, which is what the body of the hat is in. I was supposed to use a size 4 on the ribbing, and I couldn't quickly put my hands on one, but I found a size 5, so I used a size 5 for the ribbing, and I did a twisted rib. And then we'll just follow the chart, and hopefully next time I'll be able to show you this. But my plan is to just kind of use this as an ongoing project. So I'm only going to knit the national parks that I've been to. So I've been to quite a few, so I have a few to get going on, and then as I go to more, I'll be able to knit more. So that's Knitting the National Parks by Nancy Bates. Most of the hats are DK or worsted weight. Many of them are color work, but not all. So it's a really neat book and a really fun way to commemorate the places that you've been. A couple of podcasts ago, I talked about the sweater that my mom made me when I was in high school. That's this cable sweater. Well, that video had been out for a while. It's got a turtleneck on it. But somebody left me a comment just a couple of days ago asking if I had the pattern for the sweater. And I do not. My mother, who made it, is deceased, and she made it probably 20 years before she died. She did a lot of crafts, a lot of sewing, weaving, other things. She may have still had it when she died, but I don't remember seeing that, and I wasn't really knitting at the time, so that may have just been something that we donated. I don't think we would have thrown away patterns, but I'm sure we donated some patterns. So I thought, you know, surely that pattern has to be somewhere on the internet. And my hair is looking funny, it's falling out. I was trying to pull it back to keep it out of the way of my Lighthouse sweater, but it doesn't like to cooperate all the time. But anyway, I thought surely that pattern is there somewhere. So I started looking. Jeanette, who sent me the comment, had been looking already. I did find a sweater with a really similar or perhaps the same stitch pattern, but it was almost like a tunic length or dress length, and it had a V-neck. So it was a bit different. So I sent her a link for that one. I found that on eBay. But as I was looking, I came across patterns from Sears. And I thought, good chance that my mom would have gotten a pattern from Sears. We got a lot of things from Sears. And I didn't realize that they ever did knitting patterns. Did you know that? They have some really kind of funny ones. They have this micro mini dress and tights that's actually crochet rather than knit, but that one gave me a good chuckle. And then they had some that were kind of from the Beat generation. and really all kinds of things. So I'll just scroll through some of those examples now just to give us all a little smile and maybe some nostalgia. I got lots of good comments this week on different people's vacations or running out of yarn or having way too much yarn. I got one from Eileen, and she said, this summer we went to Niagara Falls from Wisconsin, so I had a lot of knitting time in the car. I was looking forward to finishing a baby blanket that was my car knitting, and I had been working on it for months. I ran out of yarn less than halfway there, and what was maddening is I had another skein at home. That was exactly my situation too with the Rustic Eyelet poncho. I had yarn, I just didn't bring it. She did have some dishcloth yarn, so she finished up that. And the last thing that she had with her was a Musselburgh hat. That was a Musselburgh hat. Is it Musselburgh or Musselburgh? That was way too big, so I frogged it. Took me forever to do that, and I didn't feel like restarting, so she started a shawl instead. But she really wanted to finish her baby blanket. S.K. Hoyt says, I have that book too, the Nancy Bates Knitting the National Parks, and I have enjoyed making a couple of hats. I'm finding that they come out too small for me, so I need to use bigger needles. Yeah, you know, every designer is a little bit different, so Nancy may have been a little bit looser knitter than you are. That's why we check gauge, and we can switch our needle size to accommodate and to get the correct gauge that the pattern says. Jane asked me if I went to Rocky Mountain National Park. She said, I was thinking that was one of your plans. We lost an LYS in Estes Park, but have the Loopy U in Loveland, 2 in Fort Collins. I've been to Loveland and I've been to Estes. Been a long time ago. I don't think I've ever been to Fort Collins. And one of my knitting friends from here moved there, so I need to go to Fort Collins sometimes. And I think that's where Julie and Deb live too. So I have other people there. I can see Jane and Angie and Deb and Julie. Kathy said, your trip took me down memory lane. When I was young, my family went out west every summer for 3 weeks. The 10 of us camped in a pop-up camper that Dad pulled behind the station wagon. I visited all those places you mentioned. Over the course of 5 years, we hit every national park and monument in Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming. So cool. It is good memories. My family mostly camped as I was growing up, and we went to a ton of national parks, and some of them we went to over and over again. We went to the Smokies probably every 3 years or so. So that was one of the most visited parks for me. But I always just have warm feelings about going to national parks and going to the campfire programs, and just a fun memories and a fun way to spend your childhood. I got this one from Arlen. I love the Kathy Bates National Park hats. I've knitted a few for kids. They are so fun to knit. I do have a road trip story where I wound a skein of yarn using my knees on a road trip. Obviously, I was not driving, so my husband's hands were not available either. It was either that or not be able to finish my project until we got to the hotel, which was still 2 hours away. Ah, the pain. You can imagine the anxiety starting to build up. Thankfully, no tangling disasters, and it all worked out, and I finished before we got to our hotel. Susan Smith said, sounds like you had a great trip. I always take way too much yarn. I think Holly lives close to Colorado Springs. Meeting up with her would have made a fun yarn stop. I think she lives near Denver, which is not too far away from Colorado Springs, but probably a little farther than I could get my husband to venture right then. But that would have been great. And Holly says, I love how your cowboy turned out. I've been working on mine and I'm almost to the sleeve split. I want to knit your lighthouse pattern sometime for sure. I'm always looking for a good sweatshirt style sweater. Deb says, hi, I always enjoy watching you. Taz and Cat Paul. Taz and Cat Paul. She says, yes, please, about the pattern for the hat. I love the look of it and the colors too. So I had asked if anybody was interested in me writing up this pattern, which is the one I improvised based on the beautiful aspens of Colorado. Once I got some new yarn from Michael's. Since there aren't any local yarn shops in Colorado Springs anymore. If there are any and I just missed them, let me know, because I'm sure I'll be out that way again. Thank you all so much for watching today. If you liked the video, please hit that like button. It helps YouTube send me out to other people and just helps my channel grow. Leave me any comments you have. I love to read your comments. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Thanks so much.